Imagine this. Atlanta's hip-hop scene is buzzing. The streets are alive with whispers, and suddenly the air turns heavy with a tension nobody saw coming. Out of nowhere. What started as playful jabs between rap heavyweights spirals into something darker, something no one was ready for. T.I., the self-proclaimed king of the South, thought he had everything under control. He thought the rivalries were just music, just part of the game. But little did he know, Shawty Lo wasn't just talking slick on tracks, he was dead serious. And the stakes were far higher than anyone imagined. Fans are shocked, insiders are whispering. And the entire community is holding its breath, wondering how this feud could explode so quickly. Emotions ran high, accusations started flying, and suddenly the family was left divided. What was supposed to be harmless competition became a battleground of pride, betrayal, and unexpected revelations. And the most chilling part? T.I. had absolutely no idea how far Shawty Lo was willing to take it until things went completely left. Buckle up, because this isn't just another rap beef story. This is a saga of loyalty tested, reputations shattered. And shocking truths nobody was prepared to face. Atlanta nights had always carried a certain rhythm. Cars cruising down Old National Highway, music blasting from corner stores, people catching up on porches. But beneath the hum of everyday life, something was boiling. Word on the street was that Shawty Lo had been plotting something far beyond a lyrical exchange, and for T. It was the calm before a storm he didn't even realize was forming. It all started with whispers in strip clubs and studios. Friends of friends saying, "Yo, Shawty Lo ain't playing this time." At first, nobody took it seriously. Everyone thought it was just more of the usual back and forth, a part of the culture that kept Atlanta buzzing. But Shawty Lo had a different kind of energy in his eyes, a look that told people he wasn't in it for jokes or publicity. Fans started noticing too, commenting online that his tone had shifted, that there was a sting in his words that felt personal. T. On the other hand, was busy handling his own world business ventures, family matters, studio sessions. He brushed off the talk, convinced that whatever Shawty Lo was saying wouldn't get far. But those close to him began raising eyebrows. One of his longtime friends pulled him aside one evening and said, "Tip, I don't think Shawty Lo just talking. The man sound hurt." T laughed it off, waving a hand like it was nothing. "Man, he just trying to sell records. I ain't worried." But deep down, a seed of unease planted itself. Shawty Lo felt disrespected. For him, it wasn't just about songs or charts. It was about legacy, about respect in the city he called home. He'd been carrying grudges from the past, unresolved tensions that had festered quietly. To him, T's crown as the so-called King of the South was a slap in the face. King of the South. Shawty Lo scoffed one night in front of his crew. How had he gone be king when he don't even run his own block? The room erupted in laughter, but beneath the jokes was a sharp edge of truth. At least in Shawty Lo's mind, things began escalating. When Shawty Lo dropped a track that wasn't just subliminals, it was direct. The bars were laced with accusations, calling T out on personal matters, questioning his credibility, even hinting at secrets T never thought would surface. Fans were stunned. Comments flooded social media. Shawty Lo going too far. T better respond. This ain't no friendly beef. And while many laughed and enjoyed the entertainment, those who knew the history understood the weight behind Shawty Lo's words. T finally sat down in the studio, listening to the track from start to finish. His face was unreadable at first, but his crew saw the tension in his jaw. The way he tapped his fingers against the mixing board. "He really think he can play with me like that?" T muttered under his breath. One of his producers tried to calm him down, saying, "Tip, don't give it energy. You above that." But T's pride was hit, and in the world he came from, respect was everything. The situation reached a boiling point one night at a local club. T showed up to support a friend's performance, unaware that Shawty Lo was already inside. The energy in the room shifted immediately. People whispered, phones came out, and suddenly everyone was watching to see what would happen. Shawty Lo spotted T across the room and without hesitation, walked straight over. "So, you the king, huh?" Shawty Lo said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. T stared back, cool but firm. "I ain't gotta prove nothin' to you." The crowd grew tense. Fans pressing closer, phones recording every second. Their crews quickly intervened, pulling them apart before things escalated, but the damage was done. Atlanta had witnessed a real confrontation, and the city was buzzing by the next morning. Blogs ran headlines like T and Shawty Lo face off in tense nightclub moment, and fans shocked as rap beef turns physical. But the drama didn't stop there. Shawty Lo began making appearances in neighborhoods tied to T, claiming his own dominance and talking directly to residents. "See, this my city," he boasted. Cameras rolling, videos later uploaded online. "Y'all know who really hold it down?" Fans ate it up, flooding the comments with divided opinions. Some said Shawty Lo was just clout chasing, while others swore he was exposing truths T had been hiding. Behind closed doors, T's family was feeling the pressure. Tiny, his wife, sat him down one night and said, "Baby, this ain't just music anymore. People out there tucking, and it's affecting the kids." Her voice trembled with concern because what was once just a public spectacle was creeping into their private lives. T sighed, rubbing his temples, realizing that no matter how much he tried to brush it off, Shawty Lo was forcing his hand. One evening, while T was rehearsing for a show, a mutual acquaintance walked in with startling news. Shawty Lo planning something big. "It ain't just songs, man. He about to make this personal." The room went quiet. T put down his mic, his crew exchanging nervous looks. "What you mean personal?" he asked. The acquaintance shook his head. "I mean, he digging deep. Family, history, the whole nine. And he don't care who get caught in the crossfire." That was the moment T realized he was no longer in control of the narrative. The beef wasn't confined to tracks or clubs anymore. It was spilling into real life, and the stakes had grown higher than he ever imagined. And as if the tension wasn't already unbearable, an unexpected twist emerged. An old associate from T's early days, someone he hadn't spoken to in years, suddenly appeared in Shawty Lo's circle, whispering details from the past. Secrets T had buried, choices he had hoped would never resurface, were now in danger of being used against him. "Tip ain't who he say he is," the associate reportedly said in a leaked video, fueling rumors that spread like wildfire. Fans were left divided. Some stood firmly with T, defending his legacy and dismissing the rumors as lies. Others claimed Shawty Lo was finally pulling the mask off, revealing the truth about the so-called king. Emotions ran high, social media turned into a battlefield. And even other artists in the industry began picking sides. The tension was reaching a point of no return. And T's pride clashed with his fear. Would he confront Shawty Lo head-on, risking everything? Or would he find a way to outsmart him without giving in to the chaos? The city of Atlanta held its breath, waiting for the next move as shadows of betrayal, pride, and unresolved grudges loomed large over both men. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get worse, Shawty Lo dropped a bombshell that no one, especially T, was prepared for. Shawty Lo wasn't one to waste time when he had the crowd's attention. Only days after the nightclub face-off, he unleashed what fans would call the bombshell. It wasn't just another diss track, it was a full-out assault wrapped in raw emotion. In the opening lines, Shawty Lo hinted at things T had fought for years to keep buried. He spoke about old deals gone wrong, friendships T had severed, and even alluded to family members who had been dragged into conflicts behind closed doors. "Tip ain't who y'all think he is," he rapped with venom in his voice. "King of the South. He just a prince with a crown borrowed." The internet erupted instantly. Blogs, podcasts, and gossip channels dissected every lyric, every clue. Fans were shocked, demanding answers. Was Shawty Lo exposing real skeletons? Or was he just fabricating drama to humiliate T? What made it worse was the video he dropped alongside the track. It wasn't a flashy music video filled with cars and jewelry. It was footage of him standing in neighborhoods T used to claim, talking to old faces from the block. See, this where you say he from? But y'all don't see him here no more, do you? Shawty, low taunted, surrounded by a crowd of locals nodding and laughing. The clip spread like wildfire. And suddenly the narrative shifted. T's fans, who had been defending him, started asking questions. One fan tweeted, "Yo, if Shawty low-lying, why he got people from Tips Hood co-signing?" Another commented on Instagram, "This bigger than rap now. This looking like real-life receipts. This looking like real-life receipts." T was furious. In the privacy of his home, he paced back and forth while Tiny sat on the couch, her face filled with worry. "He ain't gonna stop until he dragged my name through the mud," T snapped, his voice sharp. Tiny reached out, trying to calm him. "Baby, you can't let him win like this. You gotta be smart, not emotional." But T's pride was already on fire. "Nah, he crossed a line. He putting my family in this? He gon' regret it." But Shawty Lo wasn't done. He started making appearances on local radio shows, taking calls from fans and stoking the flames further. One radio host asked him directly, "Why so personal with T? What's really behind this?" Shawty Lo leaned into the mic, his tone ice cold. He'd been walking around like he'd better than everybody, like he above the people who built this city. "I'm just reminding him and everybody else who really put in the work." The audience went silent before exploding with applause and gasps. At this point, other rappers and industry figures began chiming in. Some sided with T, saying he had earned his crown through years of hits, consistency, and business moves. Others hinted that Shawty Lo wasn't entirely wrong, that maybe there were stories from T's past the public didn't know about. The industry was divided, and so was Atlanta. Meanwhile, behind closed doors, T's children were starting to hear the whispers at school and online. One of his sons came home one day, upset after being teased by classmates who repeated lines from Shawty Lo's song. Tiny's voice cracked when she told T, "This is affecting the kids now. We can't just think about pride, we gotta think about them." But the pressure only pushed T further into a corner. He called a late-night meeting with his crew at the studio. "We gotta respond. If I let this slide, everybody gon' think it's true. My name ain't gon' be a joke in these streets." One of his closest friends cautioned. Tip, responding might just give him more shine. Maybe silence hurt him more. But T shook his head firmly. "Nah, silence make me look weak. I ain't never been weak." And so, T prepared his own response track laced with sharp rebuttals, direct shots, and a reminder of who he was. When it dropped, fans were ecstatic. T's delivery was precise, his bars filled with confidence. He painted Shawty Lo as bitter, envious, and desperate for attention. "You screaming for a crown you ain't never earned," he rapped, his voice steady and powerful. The internet once again exploded. Hashtags like #TeamT and #SHAWTY. Low Savage trended. Fans debated endlessly in comment sections. T killed him, some said. Nah, Shawty Lo still got the streets, others countered. The back and forth became a full-on cultural moment, with even national outlets picking up the story. But just as T thought he'd regained control of the narrative, Shawty Lo struck again, this time with something T never expected. He pulled out receipts. Literal paperwork, old legal documents, and testimonies from people who claimed to know T's past. In an Instagram Live that pulled tens of thousands of viewers, Shawty Lo held up papers and said he'd been acting like he flawless. "But I got proof he ain't who he say he is. This man been hiding behind an image for years." People gasped in the comments. Screenshots of the live session spreading instantly. Fans were stunned, unsure whether to believe the documents or dismiss them as desperate attempts. One commenter wrote, "If this real T done?" Another added, "Shawty Lo really going for blood." T's team quickly went into crisis mode. Lawyers were called, publicists drafted statements, and everyone scrambled to control the narrative. But the damage was already spreading like wildfire. Every blog, every gossip channel, every podcast was dissecting the so-called receipts. In the midst of this chaos, T sat in silence in his home studio, staring at the screen of his phone, watching the live replay of Shawty low-waving papers around. His heart pounded, not because he believed the claims would hold weight, but because of the way perception could become reality. In the world of hip-hop and fame, image was everything. Tiny entered the room quietly, placing a hand on his shoulder. "Baby, you've got to think carefully about your next move. This ain't just about music. No more, it's about reputation, about family, about everything you built." T nodded slowly, his eyes dark with determination. "Then I guess it's time I remind him and everybody else who I really am." But before T could act, yet another twist unraveled. An anonymous source reached out to a major blog, claiming they had proof that Shawty Lo's receipts weren't entirely authentic. Screenshots and videos began circulating, suggesting that at least some of the paperwork had been altered or exaggerated. Fans were shocked all over again, and the tide of public opinion began to shift. Some declared Shawty Lo a fraud, accusing him of fabricating evidence just to tear T down. Others argued that, real or fake, the fact that it reached this point showed just how far Shawty Lo was willing to go. Emotions ran high, friendships fractured. And the city grew more divided than ever. As the smoke from this revelation settled, T saw an opening. He could finally turn the tables and expose Shawty Lo's tactics. But deep down, T also knew that the feud had already gone further than he ever wanted. This wasn't just about rap anymore. It was about betrayal, about family, about pride, and about a war that neither man seemed willing to back down from. And just when T began plotting his counterattack, he received a phone call late at night that changed everything and set the stage for the next explosive chapter of their feud. The phone rang just past midnight, its sharp vibration cutting through the heavy silence of T.I.'s studio. He almost ignored it, assuming it was another manager or journalist trying to get a statement. But something about the number flashing on the screen made him pause. It was unfamiliar, yet strangely familiar. Curiosity got the better of him, and he answered. A deep voice spoke on the other end, calm but weighted with seriousness. "Tip, you don't know me like that, but I know you, and I know Shawty Lo. This gone way too far. Meet me tomorrow alone. There's things you don't know." Before T could respond, the line went dead. He sat frozen, the phone still in his hand. Who was this? Why now? Tiny poked her head into the room, concerned. "Who was that, baby?" T shook his head, uneasy. "I don't know yet, but I gotta find out." The next day, T arrived at a dimly lit diner on the outskirts of the city, the kind of place where no one asked questions. Seated in the back was a man T recognized faintly from his early days in the game, an old face from the neighborhoods where T once hustled. His name was Rico, a figure who had quietly disappeared from the scene years ago. Rico leaned forward, his voice low. "Shawty Lo ain't playing, Tip. This ain't about rap no more." He digging into old wounds, old business deals, old alliances. And he got people feeding him info. People you used to run with. T's eyes narrowed. "Who?" Rico hesitated before saying, "Marcus? You remember Marcus? Y'all used to be close until that fallout over money. He the one whispering in Shawty Lo's ear?" The name hit T like a punch to the chest. Marcus wasn't just some associate. He had been like a brother. They had come up together, survived the same struggles, celebrated the same wins. But a bitter falling out years ago had severed their bond. If Marcus was now fueling Shawty Lo's fire, that meant this feud had roots deeper than T imagined. Back at home, T's frustration boiled over. He bringing Marcus into this? He snapped, pacing the living room. Tiny tried to calm him, but the betrayal cut too deep. "Man, Marcus know things only family's supposed to know. If he talking, then Shawty Lo really got ammo." News of Marcus's involvement leaked within days, fueling the already raging firestorm. Blogs ran wild with speculation. Headlines screaming, "Former best friend betrays T. Sides with Shawty Low." Fans were stunned. Yo, if his own boy turned on him, maybe Shawty Low telling the truth. One Twitter user wrote. Another added, "This beef getting scary now. Too personal." Shawty Low wasted no time capitalizing. During another live session, he appeared with Marcus by his side, the two laughing and reminiscing about old Atlanta days. Marcus hinted at stories, saying things like, "Man, if people knew the half about Tip." But he stopped short of full revelations, keeping the suspense alive. Fans were glued to their screens, emotions running wild. T, meanwhile, was torn between rage and heartbreak. The betrayal by Marcus cut deeper than any diss track. He confided in Tiny late one night. "This ain't even about Shawty no more. This about Marcus. How have he gone switch sides like that? After everything." Tiny took his hand, her eyes soft. "Baby, sometimes the people closest to us hurt us the most. But you can't let this break you. You've got to be smarter." But smart wasn't easy when emotions were raw. The tension came to a head at a charity basketball game where T was scheduled to make an appearance. Unbeknownst to him, Shawty. Lo and Marcus were also in attendance. The moment T walked in, the crowd's energy shifted. Whispers spread, phones rose in the air, everyone sensing drama was about to unfold. Shawty Low spotted T from across the court and smirked, making his way toward him with Marcus trailing behind. "Look who decided to show up." Shawty Low sneered, loud enough for cameras to catch. T's crew immediately formed a protective circle, but T waved them off, stepping forward. "You think this a game?" T shot back, his voice low but fierce. Marcus chuckled, adding fuel to the fire. "Ain't no game, Tip. Just truth finally coming out." The crowd gasped, some cheering, some booing. Emotions ran high, and for a moment it seemed fists might fly. Security rushed in, pulling the men apart before anything could escalate, but the footage spread instantly online. Clips of the heated exchange went viral. Headlines screamed about near brawl at charity game. And fans couldn't believe how messy things had gotten. After the event, T retreated into silence, but behind the scenes, he was boiling. "They embarrassing me in front of the whole city," he told his crew. "Everybody think I'm weak, but I ain't never been weak." One of his closest friends urged him, "Tip, you've got to think about strategy. Don't play their game. Make your move smart." But the city was already divided, and the feud was now the #1 conversation everywhere. Barbershops, radio shows, even churches buzzed with debates about T and Shawty Low. Some called it entertainment, others worried it was spiraling too far. One pastor even addressed it in a Sunday sermon, saying, "What starts as pride can end in destruction." Then came another twist nobody saw coming. Marcus, perhaps intoxicated by the attention, decided to release a tell-all interview with a popular gossip blogger. In the interview, he claimed T had abandoned people who helped him rise, that he had turned his back on his roots, and that his image as a loyal king of the South was just a facade. "The T y'all see now ain't the Tip we knew," Marcus declared. Fans were floored. Social media exploded with debates. Marcus lying for clout, some argued. "Nah, if it's day one saying this, it gotta be some truth," others countered. The family was left divided once again, with even T's cousins and old friends being dragged into the spotlight. T sat down with his team after the interview went viral. His face was stone cold. "You want to play dirty? Fine, I'll play too." But even as he said the words, there was doubt in his eyes. Was fighting fire with fire really the answer? Or would it only drag him further down into the chaos? Tiny, sensing his turmoil, whispered, "Baby, the more you fight back, the more they win." Sometimes silence is the loudest statement. T shook his head. "Nah, silence don't work in these streets. Silence get you forgotten. I worked too hard for this." And so, as tensions reached a fever pitch, T began plotting his next move. One that would not only target Shawty Low, but also strike directly at Marcus. He was ready to expose truths of his own. Truths that could flip the entire narrative on its head. The city buzzed with anticipation. Everyone knew something big was coming. But what no one knew was just how explosive T's response would be, or how it would shake Atlanta to its very core. T's counterattack wasn't rushed. He took his time, strategizing with his closest allies, filtering through years of memories and secrets that only a handful of people knew. While Shawty Low and Marcus were busy going live, laughing on airwaves, and feeding the blogs, T was quiet. That silence unsettled everyone. Fans speculated wildly online. Tip to quiet. He cooking something. One comment read. Another fan tweeted, Shawty Low, better watch out. Silence mean danger. The anticipation built until one Friday night when T finally broke his silence. At midnight, he dropped a track that wasn't just music hit, was a calculated grenade. The beat was heavy, cinematic, the kind of sound that made listeners sit up straight. T's voice cut through with razor-sharp clarity, exposing Shawty Low's past in ways fans had never heard. He rapped about failed ventures, old debts, even relationships that had ended badly. But the most shocking part wasn't about Shawty Low, it was about Marcus. In vivid detail. T described the fallout that had destroyed their friendship years ago. I fed you, clothed you, kept the wolves off your back. He rapped with venom. And you sold me out for 15 minutes of fame. The words stung like daggers, and fans could feel the raw pain behind every bar. The internet lit up instantly. Hashtags like #TipStrikesBack and #Betrayal trended within hours. Fans were shocked, many switching sides immediately. Yo, T didn't just respond, he annihilated them. One fan wrote. Another added that Marcus verse. Man, that cut deep. Even industry veterans chimed in, praising T for reclaiming control of the narrative. But the drama didn't stop there. The morning after the track dropped, Marcus posted a shaky video on Instagram Live, clearly rattled. Tip twisting the story, he insisted, his voice trembling. He ain't telling y'all the whole truth. But the damage was done. Fans flooded the comments, calling him a traitor, a snake, someone who had bitten the hand that fed him. Shawty Low, however, wasn't about to back down. Within days, he appeared on stage during a concert in Atlanta, performing his diss track while mocking T openly. He think he king, but kings fall too. Shawty Low shouted into the mic, the crowd roaring in approval. Clips of the performance went viral, reigniting the firestorm. Behind the scenes, though, cracks were beginning to show. Sources close to Shawty Low whispered that the constant battles were taking a toll. He more focused on this beef than his own career right now, one insider revealed. And fans began to notice the fatigue too. Shawty Low dragging it too long, one comment read. It's looking desperate now. T, meanwhile, sat down with his family for a heart-to-heart. Tiny looked him in the eyes, her voice steady. Baby, you proved your point. You don't need to go further. Don't let this drag us into a hole we can't climb out of. His kids nodded, their faces full of worry. The weight of it all pressed on T's chest. He realized the feud wasn't just about pride anymore. It was about protecting his family, his legacy, and everything he had built. But just when it seemed the feud might finally fizzle out, one last twist shattered the fragile balance. A mysterious video leaked online showing Marcus and Shawty Low in a heated argument behind the scenes. In the clip, Marcus accused Shawty Low of using him. You promised me loyalty, but you just wanted dirt on Tip. Marcus shouted. Shawty Low fired back. Man, you knew what this was? You bitter, 'cause he left you behind, and now you mad I shine off it. The video spread like wildfire. Fans shocked at the betrayal within the betrayal. So Marcus was just a pawn. One viewer commented, Shawty Low snake too. Another wrote, the tide turned almost completely. Sympathy poured in for T, while Shawty Low and Marcus faced backlash for their messy alliance. Seeing the shift, T seized the moment. Instead of dropping another diss, he released a heartfelt video message directly to his fans. Seated in his studio, no flashy chains, no hype men, just him speaking raw. I ain't perfect. I made mistakes. I burned bridges, but I never betrayed my people. Loyalty mean everything to me, and that's something money, clout, or headlines can't buy. I ain't here to tear nobody down, but I won't let nobody rewrite my story either. The video went viral for all the right reasons. Fans praised him for maturity, for showing vulnerability in the middle of chaos. This the tea we respect. One comment read, "King behavior." Another declared. Even some of Shawty Lo's supporters admitted the message hit hard. Shawty Lo, seeing the overwhelming support T had regained, began to fade from the spotlight. His interviews slowed, his posts became less frequent, and the once explosive feud started losing steam. Marcus, meanwhile, disappeared entirely, silenced by the backlash. But the scars remained. Atlanta had been shaken, families had been tested, and friendships had been destroyed. What started as a lyrical rivalry had spiraled into a saga of betrayal, pride, and redemption. In the end, T stood tall, not because he won every battle, but because he weathered the storm and refused to let his enemies define him. The feud left the city divided, but it also reminded everyone of a truth too often forgotten. In the world of fame and power, loyalty is the rarest currency of all. And though the dust settled, fans couldn't shake the feeling that the story wasn't truly over. Rumors swirled that Shawty Lo might resurface with one final move, that Marcus wasn't done telling his side. Atlanta held its breath, waiting for the next chapter, wondering if peace was real, or just the calm before another storm. And just like that, what began as a few bars between two Atlanta giants turned into a saga that shook the entire city, split families, and left fans arguing across every timeline. T never saw just how serious Shawty Lo was until it all spiraled out of control, until old friends became enemies, till loyalty was questioned, until the family itself was dragged into the crossfire. Emotions ran high, trust was broken. And the legacy of both men was tested in ways no one could have imagined. But here's the real question. Was this the end? Or just another chapter waiting to unfold? Shawty Lo might have fallen quiet for now. But fans can't ignore the possibility that he's lying low, preparing something even bigger. And Marcus, will he ever resurface to tell more? Or has the backlash silenced him for good? T may have come out on top in this round. But in a world where respect and pride weigh heavier than money, anything can happen. Now we want to hear from you. Whose side are you really on? Do you think T proved himself as the true king? Or do you believe Shawty Lo still has something left up his sleeve? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because this debate is far from over. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most dramatic feuds Atlanta has ever seen, make sure you hit that like button, smash subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you never miss another story like this. Your voice matters, and your opinion might just shape how this story is remembered. Stay tuned, because if things go left again, we'll be right here breaking it all down for you.